Hello, and welcome to episode 87 of 10,000 Stitches Podcast, a weekly chit-chat all about the joys of knitting. My name is Andy, and if you were looking for me on the interwebs, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Ravelry as Purlbug, P-U-R-L-B-U-G. You can find my blog at thepurlbug.com, and then we have the 10,000 Stitches podcast group on Ravelry. If you are looking for links to anything I mentioned today, if you are watching via the embedded video on the blog post or the Ravelry thread, everything will be linked right below the video. If you are watching this on YouTube, in the description box below the video, there will be a link to the blog post for this episode. There's also a link in there to the Ravelry group, so you can go to either of those places and then find all of the links you could possibly want. So I am currently recording on Sunday, January 28th, and this episode will go up on Tuesday, January 30th. It's going to be a little bit of a weird episode today, I'm thinking. I'm going to kind of break from our normal order because sort of my finished object, works in progress, what's coming up next, and sort of my general chit-chat stuff all sort of runs together. So I also think it's going to be a little bit shorter episode, so I think that'll be okay. But I thought I would start with just mentioning the knit along and the question of the week, so that then when everything else just kind of mushes together, it's not too big of a deal. So we do have a knit along running right now. Our January and February knit along, the theme is winter, so that breaks down to a technique theme of color work and a color theme of blue. Like I said, that runs to the end of February, so we're about halfway through. Lots of finished objects coming in, but lots of time to get in a finished object if you want. I will just really quickly, thought I'd show off the prize yarn again. So this is what the prize yarn looks like. And yeah, if you want to know the rules and everything for that, either on the Ravelry group, there's a thread for it that has all the rules, or on the blog post, I always link to that thread with all the rules. So you can go there and see the rules for that. But that's all I'm going to mention for that. And then question of the week. So my question of the week this week is, I would just love to hear about something really awesome that's going on in your life right now. What's a good thing that's going on for you right now? I would love to hear it. So, okay, so that kind of stuff is out of the way. So let's kind of move into the mush, shall we? With a finished object. So my finished object is my exploration station. It's done. So I finished this, I think on Thursday, and it has been washed and blocked. So this is how it looks. Ta-da! Let's see if I can. So yeah, this is the final thing. It is huge. It's about 70 inches wide or so. And yeah, it's done. If you want details on this, sort of including how I assigned the colors and everything, I will link to my project page. I made relatively detailed notes about what I did on this. So I will just, instead of talking through them, I will just link to the project page and you can go there and see sort of what color order I used for the wedges, everything like that. But yeah, it's really great that it's done. I'm super sad because I threw this over the back of a chair that is in my apartment, and this chair has Velcro that it's an IKEA chair, and the Velcro is supposed to attach sort of the frame to the cushion, except on mine it doesn't really like to hold, and so I threw this over the back of that chair and part of it got caught on the Velcro, and so it's all messed up, but whatever. No one's ever gonna notice. I probably won't even notice after today. But yeah, it's just huge. This is what it looks like on. Ta-da, whole lot of shawl. So I'm very excited about it. I'm thinking I will probably take it into work and leave it at work as sort of like the thing to put on when I get cold at work. But yeah, I'm just super excited. It is just so big and gigantic, and I really love it. So yeah, that's my finished object. And so in terms of works in progress, I have 2 half objects. So that's sort of nice. One of them is something that you probably aren't going to see again for a long time, but that is my octo mitts. And I call this a half object. I haven't woven in any ends, but it is done. I finished up the ribbing on the thumb. So this is my first octo mitt, which is a colorwork mitt that I worked as a fingerless mitt, but the pattern is written for fingerless mitts or full mittens. But this is what it looks like. So you have these cute little octopuses on the back, and then this on the palm. This actually is showing up way better on video than it does in real life. Like, I feel like in real life it's kind of hard to see this design. It gets lost a little bit, but maybe it'll show up better with blocking. But yeah, things that I modified about this pattern, I added a thumb gusset. It does not normally have a thumb gusset on it. And normally the way the pattern is written, if you're doing the fingerless mitts, you only do 2 repeats of the octopuses, but I decided to do 3 because I like octopuses. But oh my gosh, this thing is warm, and it's warm today, and I am warm, so I have to take this off. Anyway, so yeah, this, like I said, this is gonna go away for a little while, and I'm gonna get to that in just a minute why. But yeah, I'm not feeling it right now, and I don't think if I tried to start the other one that I would do a very good job with it, so I'm just gonna kind of put it away for a little while, and I'll come back to it later. Yeah, so that's that. And as a quick reminder, so the 2 yarns that I'm using on this are 2 of my hand-dyed yarns. These are 100% BFL, and these are the same yarns that I used for my Undine socks. So it's this really pretty sort of tonal kind of sea green, and then this really, really dark, deep indigo blue. So those are what I'm using. This was knit on US size 0s for all of the ribbing. So the bottom, top ribbing, and the little thumb ribbing was on a US 0, and then the rest of it was knit on a US 2. So US 0 is a 2mm needle, a US 2 is a 2.75mm needle. So boom. And I definitely think that knitting on the US 2 for the color work definitely helped my color work a lot. I mean, it's still not great, but it definitely helped to go up, you know, further than I thought I wanted to in needle size. So you live and you learn. So that's the first half object. The second half object is my vanilla socks that I am knitting up as a sample for my pattern. So this one is the finished one. It's completely done. I'm not gonna put it on a blocker because my blockers are out of reach, but I will try and remember to insert a photo here of what it looks like on a blocker. But yeah, basic vanilla sock with contrasting heels, cuffs, and toes. This yarn, this yarn is just this really pretty sort of tonal blue, and then this sort of variegated pink and orange and yellow for the contrasting color. And I am just past the heel on the second one, so this should go pretty quickly. I just started something else in the meantime because I'm a little bit bored with this, so I'm going to get back to working on this, but I needed something else once I finished the exploration station because I can't just knit a vanilla sock, you know, 24 hours a day. So but yeah, so this should hopefully be finished up, I'm thinking probably by the end of the week. And then hopefully I can get that pattern done soon, because then it's just a matter of formatting the pattern and getting pictures taken. So yeah, pretty cool. Those are being knit on US size 1s, which is a 2.25mm needle. And both of the yarns are my hand-dyed, so I guess I forgot to mention that. But yeah, both of the yarns are my hand-dyed, and they are an 80/20 Superwash Highland Wool Nylon blend. And by the way, I apologize if it seems like I'm just sort of all over the place today. It's kind of because I am. I'm recording really early as well. It's I don't know, what time is it? It is it's just before 10 o'clock in the morning, which is way earlier than I usually record because I just have a lot to get done today. So anyway, so after I finished the exploration station, I sort of had to think a little bit about what to start next, right? Because the exploration station was my second big shawl in a row, right? Because just before I started the exploration station, I finished up the dotted rays, right? So it was my second just really big project, kind of just in quick succession. And I think I mentioned last week, so most of the stuff on my queue for the rest of the year, sort of my big projects, are all big projects, right? They're sweaters and stuff. And so I mentioned that I don't have any sweater quantities of yarn that I really want to start a project with right now, so I still don't. And so I was just kind of trying to think like, okay, well, what do I want to do next? Because obviously I could have picked back up my octo mitts, but this kind of gets into sort of what's going on in my life right now, where just February is going to be really crazy for me, both personally and professionally, right? In terms of the professional stuff, at work, things are really just ramping up now for spring semester. Even though spring semester started a couple weeks ago, for me, half of my teaching started last week, and then the big part of it starts this next week, because, you know, I manage all of the undergraduate teaching labs, and so those start next week. And so like things are really just all of a sudden like 0 to 60. And, you know, I'm taking a class this semester, and that has started to sort of ramp up with homework and stuff. And just, you know, other responsibilities that I have at work. And so like all of that is just getting to be a lot, and it's taking up a lot of my brain space. And then personally, I don't really want to talk about some of it now. Like, it's nothing bad, but it's just like my personal life is also getting a little bit crazy, and I will eventually talk about it. But sort of, I guess what I will say is that February is going to be a crazy month because 2 weekends in a row in February I have to be traveling, that I hadn't really been planning on. And so again, it's not a bad thing. It just is a thing that is really sort of sucking away a lot of my energy. And so when I was trying to think of like, what do I want to do next? I realized that like, I kind of just am in a season right now where I need knitting that is not challenging. And so, you know, that's where working on, you know, these socks is really great because of course it's a vanilla sock. It's a pattern that I know very well. So like that's, you know, really good. It's just basic knitting. Again, my granny stripe blanket is also very good for this because I can just pick it up and do a little bit and then put it down, and I don't have to think very hard about it. But I kind of wanted, you know, something else. Like like I said, I need a palette cleanser from this every so often. So I decided to cast on another pair of socks. So basically we're going back to like 2016 right now, where I'm knitting just socks. But you know, again, like I said, this is a season where I just sort of need this in my life, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that in a second, but let's talk about the socks first. So I wound up some yarn that I have had in my stash for a while. This is a hand-dyed yarn that I did, and this was the first time I ever tried dyeing yarn in the oven, and I haven't done much more with that because it just is not a technique that I feel like I need to use much, but you know, it was fun to play with. So this is kind of what it looks like. It's getting way washed out by the camera, but it's just sort of this pale, the base I wouldn't even call white anymore. It's sort of just pale. And then it's got all of these different speckles and stuff in it. So that's what that looks like. This is an 80/20 superwash merino nylon sock yarn, and this is what the sock looks like. So get up a little bit closer for you guys. I'm not going to try and refocus the camera just because that's a lot of work, but this is sort of what it looks like. Come on, buddy. There we go. So you can kind of see like that speckling on there. Yeah. And the pattern that I'm using for this is Socks on a Plane. Although Socks on a Plane are written to be done toe up, I'm doing this top down obviously, but basically I'm taking my inspiration from Socks on a Plane, and I'm doing that little cable down the side. And these are being knit 64 stitches on US 1s. Yeah, again, pretty vanilla other than that. And I think these might be a gift for someone, but I'm not entirely sure yet, so I won't say who. But yeah, they might be a gift, so that's okay. But yeah, so this sort of gets me into the chit chat, and this is going to be kind of most of the rest of the episode. Like I said, it's a weird week and it's going to be a shorter episode, but I just thought I would talk a little bit about how I am dealing with this sort of, you know, stressful time in my life, and sort of some thoughts that I have on it, you know, from doing this kind of stuff in the past, and maybe it'll help someone. But it's sort of, you know, like I referred to this as sort of a season in my life, and I think that's really helpful. Like, if you are going through a stressful time in life, is to remember that, like, right, life tends to kind of move in seasons, and you might be going through like a tough time right now, but like it's not gonna last forever. And that's what I have to keep reminding myself, is that like this is something that has an expiration date on it. For me, I'm lucky in that like I know the expiration date because I know exactly how long this semester is, right? So I know that once the semester ends, things are going to be a lot less crazy at work. And sometimes you don't know that, but I think it's just always important to remember that like eventually things will get better, and conversely, if you're going through a really good time of life, eventually things will get worse, right? Which is a little bit depressing maybe, but like I think it's just really important to remember that like no season of life lasts forever, right? Like it's all temporary. And so so that sort of brings me to some thoughts that I'm having, again, both, you know, sort of personally and professionally and everything, to kind of like get through this time that it's just like, nah. And that is just, it's something that I talked about on Vlogmas, and that is this idea of like, what is your bare minimum? And I talked about it on Vlogmas in terms of like habits, like forming habits and stuff, like what is the bare minimum that you will consider to have been successful for that day. And when I was talking about it, then I think I was using yoga, like the fact that I want to get back into doing yoga as sort of an example. And I was saying that, like, you know, my bare minimum for yoga is if I basically roll out my mat and I do anything, that counts, right, for the day. And I have been utilizing that over the past couple of days. Like, you know, yesterday and the day before, I rolled out my yoga mat. I did like a 5-minute YouTube video, and that was it. But it was enough, right? Like, because I had already decided like what my bare minimum was, and as long as I met that, that's fine. Like, I can check the box for the day that says I did yoga. And it helps me to keep up that habit of like, I do yoga every day, even if it's not very much. Like yesterday, I just did it in whatever clothes that I was wearing. Like, I happened to be wearing leggings because I was lounging around, but like, I, you know, was wearing like a regular shirt and stuff, and I was just like, whatever, I'm just gonna do 5 minutes of yoga wearing this because this is when I'm ready to do it. And I think that's important, just not just with habits, but like in other sort of aspects of your life when you're, you know, kind of going through a stressful season. So like for me, you know, something else I'm really kind of working on is like eating healthier. And, you know, that requires meal prep, right? For me, being someone who is very busy and doesn't want to be eating out all the time, that requires meal prep. And so I do that on the weekends, and I was working on some of that this morning. I woke up at 5 o'clock this morning, and I've been going ever since then. But, you know, I had this idea in my head that I was going to, you know, prep 3 different meals this week, and I realized this morning that like that's just not going to happen. And so I sort of enacted my bare minimum for healthy eating, and I said, okay, you know what, I'm not going to get 3 different meals prepped, which means that 1 meal a day is going to be yogurt and peanut butter. But like, because it doesn't have any added sugar to it or anything, it's like, well, fine, this meets my bare minimum of like, this is healthy enough and this will be fine. And I think kind of to go along with the bare minimum, you sometimes have to accept like, I don't want to say what vices are you going to be okay with for right now, but like, you know, if you are enacting the bare minimum clause, sort of, like there are going to be sort of downsides to it. And so for me, one of them is that like I went to the store and I picked up a bunch of yogurt cups, because that way I don't even have to think about it, right? Like I just open the yogurt cup, I spoon some peanut butter on top of it, and then I eat it, right? There's no dishes to do except for the spoon, and I don't have to cook it, I don't have to heat it, it's just ready to go. And of course the downside to that is that like I'm producing more plastic waste than I probably would prefer. Like I don't like eating out of plastic yogurt cups all the time because that's just a lot of waste. But it's like sometimes you just have to accept that like there are trade-offs to all of these things. Another one is that I'm drinking a lot more coffee now than I would probably prefer. But you know what? That's a trade-off to being able to get through this time in my life. And, you know, for that, I remind myself that like human beings were not really designed to handle this sort of lifestyle. And so like sometimes you need performance enhancers to be able to get through this kind of stuff. But yeah, all of that to say that my life is just going to be crazy for the next month, and it's going to be crazy in good ways and bad ways, and I'm just going to be doing my best to kind of get through it. And so if you guys don't see me for a week, just know that like things were just crazy. I'm going to be doing my best to record as much as I possibly can, but you know, sort of on the one hand, I will not have a lot of time probably to record. And on the other hand, I'm also not going to have a ton of time to knit. So like if I don't have anything to talk about, I just may not record because, you know, kind of what's the point? I almost felt like that today, but then I realized like I have enough knitting stuff to show off. But like, you know, next week, if I haven't really finished anything or made serious progress on anything, it's like, well, you know, there's not much reason to record. So if you don't see me, that's why. I will try and not go more than, you know, 1 or 2 weeks without recording, but yeah, things are just going to be a little cray-cray around here for a while, and, you know, it's just how it goes. So I think that's actually going to be it for me today, because I don't really have much else to mention. you know, it was a busy week at work and it's going to be a busy week this next week. So that's just how it goes. And it's very rainy today. It's very, very gray today. But it is kind of nice because it's giving me this nice soft bright light. But yeah, that's going to be it. I have a whole bunch of other stuff that I have to get done today. So I'm going to go do that stuff. And yeah, I will see you guys at some point in the future. Hopefully this video wasn't too scatterbrained. I know that there were probably 10 things that I wanted to say that I didn't say, so that's how it goes. But yeah, I will see you guys later. Bye.